Hello, my friends and my family in Athea, and a warm welcome to those cherished Star Atlas community members. I'm Leon, and today more than ever, I am a proud member of Athea. Thank you for joining us as we celebrate Athea's third anniversary. In honor of this very special occasion, we bring you a candid and insightful interview with the one and only Michael Wagner. Please enjoy. Hello, my Star Atlas family. It's me again. We're back with Michael Wagner. This time we're going to have a really awesome interview with Michael from Star Atlas. So, Michael, I want to say thank you, man, for coming on, giving us your time. Just about 45 minutes, maybe around 1 hour, hopefully not more than that. We're going to talk all about Star Atlas, right? We're going to chat about what's happening in the game. We're going to talk about the macro, the micro in Star Atlas. But first off, Michael, how are you, man? What's been happening for you this week? What are you doing?
Well, I'm doing great, and for what it's worth, I'm happy to stay on for another town hall length interview if you want. 2.5 hours. I'm here. I'm all yours, man. This is long overdue. You and I have never connected on an interview, so it's great to be here with you. And I do want to start just with a huge congratulations to you and to Aphia for 3 years now in the Star Atlas ecosystem. Not just being around and present, but all of the things that you guys are building, all of the tools and data. Reports, everything that's coming out. So really appreciate you guys and just so stoked to have you around and to be here on the show with you.
Oh, thanks a lot, man. Really means a lot. Yeah, because we talk in the Athea Discord all the time. We're trying to manage everything. People are doing lots of different things, so it's very, and I'm very happy to be in Athea myself. I'm not a dev. I use Athea Flipside dashboard. I use the website. It's awesome. So yeah, and also I remember you wearing that T-shirt from Athea. I'm just gonna slide that in there.
Well, I caught some heat for that.
Yeah, I know. We knew you would.
Well, Ronald, have to give him credit. He
Yeah,
caught me at
yeah.
the exact right time, and that sweater was very comfortable, I might add.
Ah,
So,
nice.
it was, yeah, it was good to be on stage with it.
Mm.
I've gotten some requests and maybe have pre-committed to some different apparel for Breakpoint this year, but
Ah,
we'll see how
nice.
that all plays out.
Nice, awesome. Well, of course, no one's going to force you into anything, of course, because when people see you wearing something, that does influence things. So, anyway, it's all fun and games. My friends and Michael, we're going to talk a little bit about Star Atlas now. Let's dig in deep. Let's start with the macro of Star Atlas, like big picture things. And, Star Atlas is a game that has been in development for 3 years plus now, will still be in development for 5 years plus now, give or take. So I want to talk about the multiple different avenues of development that Star Atlas has actually started with or will be consolidating into, right? So Star Atlas had this philosophy of we're going to build this, and that of course came with its difficulties, right? So there are multiple avenues, stressing resources, the talents to actually do this. I want to ask you, what was the giant rationale or the giant philosophy of building in multiple different avenues, whereas you could have focused on one or a few, or just stuck to UE5 and then did that really, really well? Because, there's always a trade-off with whatever decision the company makes. You're at the head of the company. So I want to ask you what you guys were thinking. Oh, we're going to do these 5 things, but now we're going to just go UE5. No Sage, no browser-based version. What's the rationale behind this?
Well, I mean, let's call a spade a spade. I think to some extent it's ignorance. It's the unknown unknowns. The rationale at inception was to build multiple product lines that would allow for the greatest um,
Capture.
uh, au- capture and accessibility to the platform to all users around the world. I mean, when I boil down Star Atlas, it's I largely think a lot about the economy and the opportunity and the labor markets that exist within the game. Of course, we're building this really phenomenal gameplay experience. That's where Danny's at the head of that, driving all of the innovation and creativity behind game design. But I think about the Web3 integration and the implications that that has for the world in the way that people can participate this, and it's not just people that are going to be playing Star Atlas that I think are involved in the ecosystem in the future, and we're already seeing that with co-creation and development and developer tools and the things that you guys at Aphia are doing, right? I mean, just providing access to data information, starter guides, things like that. And in the future, we will see people participating, maybe just on central space stations, operating a business, or creating skins in the game for other players, other forms of UGC. So in my typical format, I'm giving you kind of a long-winded way of saying there was a lot that we didn't know at the beginning about how things were going to progress and evolve as we develop. And the
Yep.
original idea was we have multiple different environments, and some of these we can build quicker than others.
Yep.
Right now, the web application itself, the browser-based game, our expectation was that within a few months
You
we
could
would
do
have
it.
something that
Yeah.
was,
Yeah.
yeah.
It seemed very easy at
And
that time. Yeah, definitely.
it did, and Sage through 2022, things kept changing and evolving again. And I think a big component of why something like Sage is taking longer than it is because we're also pioneering bleeding edge technology. We're looking at fully on-chain game logic. We're looking at establishing a sustainable economy and systems that just simply don't exist. And so I would say it's kind of two things. It's discovering what we didn't know about what needed to be built fundamentally as we get into the development of something like Sage, which we could have taken a completely different approach on and just done it pure, game engine style, none of the on-chain integration, and only
Web two.
reading NFT assets from wallets. Yeah, do it very Web 2, just with a connection to an NFT asset. But that wasn't the route that we wanted to take, and we didn't. And we are where we are now, Sage having taken as long as it has to get to where we are. But I'm very happy with how that product ultimately evolved into what it is today. And it still has a long way to go, um, but I think it's functioning pretty well, and I think we've accomplished a lot with that. Now, outside of the game environment development, there's also so many things that we have to do to make our game development even possible. And that's like infrastructure and
Yeah, behind the
architecture and game
scenes,
systems
the
and
things that people don't really actually see. They see the trailer that comes out on Twitter. They don't see that for this trailer to actually have been developed, for this infrastructure to be there, someone had to build it, and it wasn't there before.
absolutely right. Yeah, and um, in a lot of cases, that is the on-chain elements, all of the blockchain integration components of this. And on the other side, with Unreal Engine, we've never been shy to say this is a very long-term, very ambitious project that we're taking on. And so what our goal was at inception was to roll out features and products that could create engagement and interactivity and give people something to do and produce emissions and earnings while we could really still continue to focus on the Unreal Engine AAA MMO product. Like ultimately that is where we are going to get to, and a lot of these are going to be fully integrated into that. But it was how do we stage out production and releases in a way that keeps people captivated? Because we're bootstrapping a company from the ground up, we're bootstrapping a team from the ground up,
And a whole new
and a lot
economy.
of this is in the economy from the ground up. So all of this is kind of fly by wire. We're, as we like to say, we're building the plane as we're flying it, and that creates a lot of challenges. And we did have some phenomenal success in 2021 in presenting the vision in a way that captivated the hearts and minds of a lot of people. And that's why we have this deeply passionate, amazing community behind us today, I think, is because we were able to paint a picture and tell a story of what could be. And the thing is, everybody wants that thing faster. We want that thing faster as well. But
That's normal. That's
again, I
human
feel
nature.
And I mean, we want it just as much as everyone else. I can't wait until the day when I'm playing Star Atlas at night after work, leveling up my character, going and completing missions and being a gamer.
Yeah.
We are all gamers, and that's how we're building with ourselves in mind as much as building for the community. So I guess what I would say, just in closing on this particular question, is that it's not that we want to go out and boil the ocean. In many cases, there are just different things that need to be executed on in parallel, and that's why it looks like we're focused on a lot of different things, because the reality is, in order for us to fulfill the vision, we have to do all of these things, and we have to do them concurrently, because otherwise, we take the timeline from 7 to 10 years to 30 years before we're finally done.
Yeah. Yeah.
Right. So I think that that's pretty key. I am pretty excited though. We're seeing some consolidation of efforts down into Unreal Engine, and
Yeah.
that's part of this transition from Sage in browser to Fleet Command in Unreal Engine. And I'm really excited about the potential of being able to focus exclusively in Unreal Engine, assuming that other pieces of technology like pixel streaming or cloud gaming come online and make it feasible for us to execute on that and still have it accessible to everyone around the world. And
I want to drill
um,
out. I want to drill. Sorry to interrupt, Michael. I do want to talk about Fleet Command, but I'm hoping we can come to that later. I wanted to pivot a little bit because you were talking about your successes, which have been very good in Star Atlas and Automata. But I want to talk about some of the challenges. You said you were in an unknown area before. Like you are building this game, as you said, flying the ship, changing the engine mid-flight, etc. Analogies aside, talk to me about some of the biggest actual challenges you had, like physical big challenges, like oh crap, we can't actually do this, or what was the anything come to mind when you think about building the Star Atlas and the challenges? For example, building it in front of the community where they can see everything you're doing, and then you get this direct feedback, which is sometimes good, sometimes bad. Talk to me about that.
I will come back to excuse me, into the building in the open concept and kind of managing expectations. I guess a few other notable challenges are we're really just scaling the team up.
Yep.
Um, you know, I'm sure there are many entrepreneurs out there in our community. I was an entrepreneur prior to founding Automata and launching Star Atlas. I think many people know about
Tokes, yeah.
multi-chain ventures and what we were doing with Tokes. But by far, this is the largest company I've ever scaled in terms of people and people management. You know, we were as large as maybe 17 or 18 people at multi-chain at most, and we went from 4 people to 235 people over the course of a year. Now, I've referenced in the past this Tim Ferriss podcast that I was listening to, and he was interviewing the founder of Evernote and kind of talking through the challenges of growing a company and how radically you need to transform your SOPs and procedures internally when every time you 3x the amount of employees, you know, and so you can kind of do the math on how many times did we 3x our employees
Yeah.
going from 4 to 235. It was a lot, and it breaks a lot of things, you
Yeah.
know, and especially as a fully remote company, um, where
Time
communication
zones,
is more
communication.
challenged,
Yeah.
and culture as well. I mean, we've employed people in some 20 different countries around the world, and so you're just dealing with a lot of different perspectives, a lot of different time zones, a lot of different ways that people work, and also trying to communicate effectively this massive vision. It's not a simple thing to direct people and get people fully aligned with what it is that you want to accomplish and what you want to prioritize when you have challenges with communication. So that was a big one.
Kind of like
I
HR,
feel
social, human factors.
absolutely, and really just again, kind of communicating what is the strategy, and how do we establish the cohesion on the team so that everybody understands what it is that we're doing. Now, for me, this is particularly important because I'm overseeing everything, right? Technically, but uh, oftentimes you'll also see me defer to someone else on the team because I
You're
certainly
not
do
the
not
major
have the low
developer.
level.
Yeah.
I don't have the low level detail on every single facet of every single thing that's going on. There is somebody who's spending their entire working life just focused on one specific element of the game, and of course they have far more expertise and knowledge of that specific component. So, but making sure that there's a message from the top that says this is what we're trying to accomplish, and this is the order that we need to accomplish it in, and these are the impacts of us successfully doing that. So that can get lost in translation and just get lost through time as well, especially as you're scaling quickly. So, through the ups and downs of the company financially and us having to scale back on the amount of human resources we had, I think we've been able to reestablish those pipelines in a far more efficient manner now. I think I've mentioned this in the past, and this is not me being grateful that we have a smaller team because we lost some really amazing people, but understanding that we are actually more productive and higher velocity in a lot of different ways now than when we were when we had a bigger team. And that's largely because the communication channels are just better. There's better alignment across the team. Now, if you ask Danny, and when I talk to Danny about that or make that comment, he's like, no, our production on Unreal is definitely slower than it was when we had a bigger team. So, I want to get some more resources over there and we want to scale that production arm up again. But nevertheless, I think there are some benefits that came out of the challenges and obstacles that we've had to overcome. A second one would be financial obstacles. So
Of course.
phenomenal success first year, scaling around that, building around that, and then, you know, um, everything that everybody is aware of surrounding FTX and
Yeah.
kind of the lead up to that in the market in 2022 and
Yeah.
2023.
I would, Michael, I would classically just put that down as having crypto exposure, because just being in the crypto space is extremely volatile, and once you're in there, you're conjoined to the market sentiment and conjoined to market events, and so that in itself is a very big challenge, I would say.
Certainly, the correlation. I mean, I've also made this comment many times, but I think what people don't realize is that the impact of FTX itself was not all that significant. It was really the timing of FTX that was the most significant to our financial operations. We were sitting on a $65 million unrealized net loss on the Atlas tokens that we were holding. And, part of our strategy was, okay, we have a certain amount of USD cash available to us,
Yep.
that will continue us through the next year or so while we can wait for market improvements. I was comfortable sitting on that balance and sitting on
Yep.
that net loss,
Cruising.
because I thought it was in the best interest of the community to do that. And I was like, okay, well, the company can bear this volatility risk in the near term so we can continue building. Well, when we lose half of our US Treasury, then
Yep.
things change dramatically.
Yeah.
So that's,
You got to make decisions, quick decisions. You're the head of company, you got to survive. Yeah, I get it.
and we're here now, and we're in, slightly improved market conditions.
That's it.
Q4 was good, and more importantly, I think the look ahead is extremely promising. I think very there's a lot of reasons to be very bullish and optimistic right now, not just about Star Atlas, but about markets in general. And that's the flip side, and the positive side to market correlation is, hey, if the markets are pumping and doing really well, then we should also see the net benefit of that in interest and participation in our ecosystem.
Yeah.
So, and then the third point, which you brought up, is really managing expectations and managing community feedback and community sentiment. And, a big credit to our community team, Santi and Dom and Arthur, Jose, as well as all of the mods that are working in the channels, and our community moderators as well, to help us not only alleviate some concerns that community might have, but to onboard new people and inform them and answer questions, and just be supportive in times where that support is most needed. So, but that is definitely a challenge. And I think it's a bigger challenge because, again, we have so much context internally that the community doesn't have. And as transparent as we are, and we are extremely transparent, there are just so many other things that wouldn't be appropriate for us to communicate publicly to the community audience. And so, when you can see this disparity between access to information that we have and why we're making the decisions that we're making, and what the community is seeing and how they're interpreting our decisions, that's the hard part. And we've definitely I will take responsibility for overstating what we are capable of accomplishing in various periods of time through the history of the company. And so, really trying to correct for that. It's part of the reason why we stopped sharing target dates. Because the
Timelines,
target
deadlines,
dates to us are like, target dates to us are, to make this perfectly clear, those are our most ambitious objectives of completing a particular product or feature.
Yeah.
And we probably shouldn't have been providing our internal target dates, because it's almost a guarantee that you miss those.
Yeah.
By the nature of setting the most ambitious goal that you can,
Yeah.
you're almost always going to miss that.
Yeah.
Right?
It's about working towards that. It's like if you make it, you're like, holy crap, how did that actually happen? That was like 100%. But and I get this as well. Whenever I do my videos as a content creator for Star Atlas, I say, okay, guys, they say this is going to come out then. Okay, give them another 2 months. It's okay. It's going to come out. They're working on it. Just give it more time. Don't be upset when it doesn't come out exactly on the day, on the hour that you want. Maybe because I'm just a more rational person. You got other things to do in your life instead of sit down and wait.
And again, the responsibility is ours. I don't blame community members for being upset when we've shared a timeline and we don't hit that timeline. What's a little bit frustrating is I don't think I've effectively communicated that idea that target dates, most ambitious goal, very unlikely for us to hit that. But this is what we're working towards. And if everything aligns perfectly, then we will deliver on that date. But most likely, we're not going to hit that date.
So Michael, why don't you just not give target dates? Isn't that a much easier solution?
Well, that has been our approach for the last year
Yeah,
or so. We
yeah.
haven't, and we have not been providing dates anymore. We tell people what we're working on and what progress looks like, but there is still very much a demand to understand when.
Yes.
It's the most popular question in
Markets are
crypto is when.
driven on sentiment, and so they can trade on sentiment. When is this coming out? Oh,
Yep.
I can trade that. I can buy tokens. I can buy ships. I can buy resources, etc. So yeah, that's the community. But I want to say, you shouldn't, but don't feel that much pressure from the community. That's what I want to say. Let them do their thing.
I think it's a symbiotic relationship between us and the community. I still ultimately believe we know what's best in how we execute, as we should. We're the ones in the position that we're in for a reason. But certainly we listen to not positive feedback, but we listen to feedback on like constructive criticism
Yeah, of course, of course.
and what can be done better. What I kind of ignore, I'm desensitized to, is the kind of arbitrary FUD that gets thrown around occasionally, and uh,
Yeah, like a
we're all
new
still human though.
Discord, like a new person in Discord who's just joined and then writes a paragraph on how this isn't right or something like that. Like, no, come on, man. You haven't been in the community for 3 years. You haven't been following the same as us. It's a bit annoying sometimes, I feel.
It can
Yeah.
be, and I think that's where we just need to we need to separate and be able to distinguish as a team, what is
What
actually
is
constructive
good?
and beneficial versus something that doesn't even isn't justified of getting a response.
Yeah. Awesome. Awesome. Michael, I want to move on a little bit. We're nearly halfway through this. Time flies. And I don't think we will be spending 2.5 hours like a town hall. But let's move on. I want to talk to you about the Star Atlas itself and the community, or the kind of the broader ecosystem. So previously you said that Star Atlas was slightly subject to the timing of FTX. That's got to do a lot with Solana community, the blockchain community. My question is, where do you see Star Atlas sitting in Solana, or at least the Web3 ecosystem, or at least maybe the gaming ecosystem of Solana? I have my own view, and I think, Michael, we're slightly shunned in Star Atlas. Maybe I might be wrong. Maybe I'm perceiving that wrongly. But you tell me how Star Atlas's stance is. What Star Atlas's stance is in Solana? What do you think?
This is kind of a spicy one. I think that we would love more attention from Solana. In their defense, I don't think they take a very proactive approach to promoting any individual product within that's being developed within the ecosystem, and I think that
You've
their
talked about this
philosophy is
previously.
Yes, I think their philosophy is one of ensuring they're not showing favoritism and not necessarily highlighting any one particular project. It's kind of promoting Solana itself and letting the teams that are building there do their own self promotion. So I wouldn't say we're being shunned. I don't think that we're being ignored in any way. Do I think it would be warranted for us to get the spotlight occasionally, maybe more so than we are? Sure, but I don't think there's any animosity between Solana and Star Atlas. Certainly, I think they appreciate what we've done. They appreciate what we've contributed to the growth of Solana and users on Solana and network transactions. The things that we're doing with Sage right now. I think they're largely impressed by us. But I also think that there are various aspects of the way that labs and now their new development arm are building out, and kind of the products that they're creating that can be monetized or rolling out that aren't consistent with our architecture. And so we're not necessarily customers of Solana Labs and their development arms. And so, if you think about any business relationship, if we're not patronizing their business, we're not
Yeah.
using their tools because we
Yep.
built a lot of our own.
Yep.
Well, they're going to be promoting those
Makes
other
sense.
things that are using their tools that are making them money, right?
Makes sense. Makes sense. So that's the Solana itself, and I totally understand, but their perspective. They're building the entire layer one. We are one node, one persona, one company, one thing on there, and we're not necessarily using all of their stuff. So yes, it makes sense. They're gonna put their resources in other places, but that's Solana itself. That's the layer one. I want to talk to you about the actual ecosystem of Star Atlas of Solana. Sorry. So there's lots of other games or other projects. Where do you think we stand amongst them? Would you say we're the leader
I see.
in the gaming in the ecosystem of Solana?
I think that's fair to say. I think objectively fair to say. I have relationships with a lot of the other game founders in Solana, and so in no way am I critiquing or diminishing anything that they've accomplished or what they've built. But I just think in terms of sheer scope, innovation, and progress, I think it's hard to argue that Star Atlas is not the largest and most far along. I mean, graphical fidelity. Tell me another product that looks anything like us.
Yeah, and I would also say even if you do a very simple metric like TVL or VWAP of ships, for example, or actual economic value into the ecosystem of Star Atlas, it would probably be the biggest in Solana. I would say. Would you agree with that?
Easily, I
Yeah,
think so. Yes,
simple
and
metric.
it's almost unfortunate because a lot of our assets are SFTs today, so we're not being tracked on various dashboards that are tracking like NFT trade volumes. But if you were to take the Star Atlas ecosystem and economic value and port that into a lot of these economic tracking dashboards, far and away. Like
Yeah.
if it wasn't for Aphia's Flipside dashboard, which captures a lot of that information, I don't think people would really be aware. But yes, if you were to superimpose Star Atlas on top of what else is going on, by far the most economic value and kind of investment into the gaming product itself, I think also just looking at the sheer blockchain innovation and development that's going on and open sourcing of various infrastructure and architecture that we've built out, things like our build program, our IP program, where we've had over 65 applications to participate in our IP program and build some product or service, physicalized products surrounding the Star Atlas IP and brand. There's nothing like that out there. And I think we've already made tremendous progress on game development as well, but then also pointing to, say, the economy, which has been functioning. Whatever criticism that people might have out there on, I don't like this about labs, or I do like this about labs, or it was better this way.
You go build
Fact
one.
of the matter is, they could, sure,
Yeah,
right?
yeah.
But at the end of the day, Sage, faction fleet, so that kind of ignoring
Yeah,
that,
yeah,
right? The
yeah, yeah.
faction fleet all the way back to December 2021. But our Sage economy, which is really the MMO economy, this is the foundation of the MMO economy of the future, is now live right now in Sage. It's been going on for just almost a year now. So September 21st will be 1 year, which is super coincidental, by the way, that Star Atlas Impact Summit and Breakpoint will be taking place on September 21st. So
Almost like you planned it, Michael. What is happening here, huh?
I come from the future. I never told you guys this, but so in any case,
Yeah.
the fact that the economy has been performing as well as it has without a major collapse or catastrophe for this long, again, that is, I think, very encouraging as to the future prospects of what we're building.
And look, I would definitely agree with that, because building an economy is not something trivial and small. And to have it go for an entire year without some kind of giant bloody recession or economic collapse or something dying, that's incredible, I think, right? And people are like, oh, okay, no, I don't like it because of this, because of this. I'm like, it's a brand new economy. Have you tried to build one yourself? No. So yeah, kudos to that. And I think it's incredible that you've been able to have it running for a year. And that's the thing, it's going to keep building on top of itself for the next year, and then the next year, and then the whole economy compounds on itself. It's crazy stuff. It's really good work, I think.
And what's even more impressive is the fact that it is an open economy. We have there's no restrictions. It by nature it was designed to be an open economy. But if you look at design of an economy in most video games, it's very much closed,
Yes.
right? Closed borders. You
Yeah.
can't get assets in and out, And so when you have that closed structure, you can program and configure everything in a way to ensure that it performs exactly how you want it to. And even then you can run into pitfalls. But in our case, we have all of these exogenous variables that are completely outside of our control, and we're still succeeding. So, again, testament to
Well
Chris
said.
and Gareth and the econ team, in how much thought they've put into establishing this balance.
Yeah, that's right. And I think I remember something when it first came out, you guys were talking about all the levers you have. And it's like, yes, that's how you should be discussing this. You have 20, 30, maybe even 50 plus levers now for you to pull and make sure the economy keeps running. And to double tap as well on what you were saying about having it open, I generally love this. Most people don't appreciate it, I would say. For example, to have Sly working for you. Half of you people watching now, you probably have Sly running in the background. You can see mine running just there. I hope you can see that, right? So it's really incredible.
I have Sly running on my second desktop
Hey,
right now. So.
there we go. There we go. So shout out to Sly Groove for his work on the Sly tool. So Michael, let's keep going, my friend. Let's talk about ships. Let's talk about ships, for example. So ships in Star Atlas are the biggest assets that we would have, right? So you have Titans, maybe motherships later on. We'll get to that. But ship crafting, very near and dear to Athea's heart, is not coming, at least until Season 5, according to the roadmap, if I read it right. Now, we can redeem 4 ships now. Send in our resources, go and get some ships through a redemption. My question is there going to be any form of crafting for ships, right? Either hulls or components, modules, etc. Any form of crafting, or will we have to wait like 5 years until season 5, maybe even 6, 7, 8 years for season 5 to come? What's your thinking there?
I can't say that there has been any repositioning in our thinking of future roadmap items as of right now. And to be honest with you, I mentioned this on the Metaverse Nomads
I watched that one.
podcast just this past Sunday, but
Yep.
uh, where where my head is primarily at right now is the next quarter and really maybe the next 2 quarters, because we just have so much to execute on, and we just really do need to be laser focused on the delivery of those goals. And so I'm not necessarily thinking right now 4, 5, 6 years out, because if I've learned anything over the last 3 years, as I said at the beginning, it's so much the ground shifts
Beneath
beneath our
you.
feet every single day, right? So I could tell you one thing now and it could be completely different next week. This is the nature of being on the bleeding edge. However, uh, if I were to speculate, hypothetically here, I think it would not be unreasonable for us to start to introduce some ship crafting. Now, as you know, our SFTs, which will eventually evolve into NFTs, are fixed supply assets from the perspective of Automata. So we have an initial mint that goes out. Once those are sold, we don't mint anymore. We will not sell those. Now we do still have another, 100 ship models or so to
To go.
produce and release over the next couple of years. Um, but we also have a number of ships out of the, I don't know if we're at 54 or 56, something like that, maybe 58 that have been
Currently
released to
now,
date.
geez, that's a lot more than I thought. I thought we were maybe 30, 40, but damn. Okay.
We're in the 50s, and I can't remember the specific number off the top of my head, but many of those have been fully sold out. So where we would see opportunities unlock would be on those ships that we know we're not ever going to mint anymore, and then we would release those. Now, the risk of enabling ship crafting, i.e., ship inflation, is we
Yeah.
don't have the deflationary mechanism yet.
I totally get that, and that's where the beauty of the economics come in. You have to make sure you can actually make it sustainable before you end up
Right.
crafting all of these ships for now. But I totally understand where you're coming from, Michael. Like you got to fix what's happening now, so that you can work towards the future. So I really appreciate that, and I think that was a fun cracker. Really wanted me to ask that about ships. I'm okay with
Sure.
ships. Yeah, I've got enough ships at the moment. I'm working on other forms. So I want to clarify then. So that means for the community and even for myself as a content creator, I should really be focusing on what is currently on preseason and then season 0, perhaps, right? Because you're saying season 5, oh no, you got to fix now. So I should be looking at now.
I That would be my advice. I confidentially had been reached out to previously. I'm not going to name any names, but um, someone kind of implied or asked, we thought you were going to be saving up the big rewards for this one gameplay mechanic to come out, and that's what we were all waiting for. And I kind of had to correct that, because really, whatever the current meta is where we're expecting the best rewards to come from. And if anything, I would anticipate that uh, reward value, at least in terms of notional Atlas earned, not necessarily
Not
a
USD value, yeah.
converted USD rate, but in terms of notional Atlas earned, I would expect that to go down over time, because I mean, just simple mathematics. If the community grows by 10x or the user base grows by 10x in, say, Sage, for example, well,
They got to share that
all
Atlas.
other things, exactly, right? No, we know that we are now in the era of fixed emissions of Atlas going out in Sage every single day. And so the larger the community gets, the smaller the proportion of that Atlas you get will be. Now, there is also some expectation that with more demand and more gameplay and more Atlas syncs and utility that we're creating for Atlas,
More
you
opportunities.
see kind of the inverse relationship happen, which is the value of Atlas goes up. So it's, in many cases, we would expect some type of balance to occur from a dollar converted perspective. Yeah, you're getting less Atlas today, but it's actually worth more, and so therefore, you're still kind of earning the same amount. However, the big opportunity was to be playing right now when it's the smallest community and less daily active users, because you're getting a larger proportion of that. And to the extent that you have some long-term mentality on those earnings, if you're not just immediately converting them into USD, well, then that's your upside potential. And this is all not financial advice, of course, and markets are volatile, and the Atlas that you're holding can of course go down, but generally that's the way I think about it, is as the ecosystem and community and daily active users grow, we will see greater implied utility and value for the tokens of the ecosystem as well, and so it all kind of balances out.
Yeah,
And
awesome.
just really quickly on the ship crafting concept, just to also maybe clarify, one other possible avenue where we could see ship crafting come sooner than later is if we had this massive spike in user adoption.
Where
Because
you're in
if we
need, there's a big demand for it, right?
that's right. That's exactly right. If you see the demand spike on these game assets, and we're not satisfying that demand through ship sales, then it would be reasonable for us to unlock the possibility of crafting so that that demand could be satisfied by community producers. And that's really also where my long-term goal is. And I've noted this many times, but it's not through Atlas emissions or inflation that we really see the long-term play to earn component of Star Atlas. It's once we get sufficient levels of complexity in the gameplay where you're not able to do everything. Maybe you specialize in mining hydrogen and crafting that into fuel, that all of the other players that aren't doing that need to buy from you. And so we create a legitimate economy of peer-to-peer transactions, consumption, production. And also you have the disposable income, maybe higher net worth or developed country players and gamers that come in that aren't even really thinking about all of those economy components.
They want to play
They sort of
five
come in
minutes.
and
They'll
have
give you
fun.
$1,000. Yeah.
Exactly, right? Or $10 or $20 a month. And if you get enough of those players purchasing convenience from producers, you have a functioning and
Yeah.
sustainable economy again.
Yeah, that's it. And that's a really great place to end up going if we end up going there. It'd be really good to see. I did have a follow-up question on that, but I think it lost me for a moment. I wanna go back to the ships and selling ships, but at the moment, I think recently you said crew are going to be the biggest sell, right? The big ticket item in it very soon. But I want to ask you, you're still going to be able to sell those 100 ships you did mention afterwards, right? So you're still going to sell ships after crew.
Yeah, I think probably 2 points of clarification. So, we think that the crew will be one of the larger revenue opportunities of this year. It's still completely viable, by the way, that ships eclipse the amount of revenue that we generate off of crew. But I think there's a lot of excitement, a lot of enthusiasm, and a lot of utility that's been designed into the crew release. So I think the demand is going to be high, and I think it's probably one of our bigger opportunities for this year. That's the current thinking on it. The second point I would clarify is that uh, what I had noted in the town hall is that crew is likely to be the last asset class that we issue
Asset
and release.
class. Okay.
Right, so that's different. It's not saying we're not selling anything else from this point going
Yep.
forward. It's just we have ships, we have multiple types of land,
Yep.
and now we have crew members and a lot of the other stuff. So components and modules, any custom skins like UGC content, a lot of this other stuff, we want players to craft or to manufacture and then either use themselves in ship configuration or sell to other players. So a lot of things we won't ever create and sell. Stims, for example, there's another path with stims. Well, we're
Yeah.
not selling stims.
Yeah. They'll be
So,
hopefully created by the economy through tokes or pharmaceuticals, etc.
precisely.
Yeah. Awesome. Okay. So yeah. Thank you for the clarification. The crew are going to be one of the last kind of asset class, and everything else has already kind of been discovered. We have claim stakes. We have CSS HABs. We have pharmaceuticals. We have posters, for example. All these different asset classes. Because Michael, I hope you understand from people like the community here, we come into Star Atlas buying this sort of asset class, and all of a sudden there's this new asset class and this new asset class, and it kind of dilutes the whole entire ecosystem instead of improving vertically on the asset classes and making them more valuable. But anyway, that's fine, right? That's part of development. We're in an unknown area, and then we end up finding the path forward. And if that means it's another asset class, that means it's another asset class, right? That's how it is at the moment.
Yeah, I think it's reasonable. I mean, in a lot of ways, we've talked about these asset classes from the beginning, so I think there should have been, or probably
Some
is, an
expectation.
understanding that, hey, this is coming, right, at some point. And also, they're largely, I would say, either non-correlated or more complementary to one another than they are actually competing with one
Adversarial,
another.
yeah.
Yeah, a ship and a crew, well, those go hand in hand together. Your ship right now just operates as though the crew is already there, but at some point we've always said those are going to split apart, and now you'll have this crew asset class that you can utilize for any number of different activities that your ship is not utilized in. And so that's things like crafting in Sage, right? Crafting crew, or the mobile application, or hey, just your PFP if you just care about rocking a PFP. So. Um, yeah, they're not directly competitive.
Yeah, I get that. I get that. But for someone who's got $1,000, I want to play Star Atlas. I can only buy. I like come here and here and here. Anyway. So I want to double tap again on the crew app itself, or the crew coming. So recently, and I don't know how recently, maybe a month ago, maybe 2 months ago, where you were saying, and I'm going to paraphrase here, we're very close to crew coming out. It's going to come out very soon, right? No deadlines given, no timelines, or whatever. But now we're at the space where no blockchain work has been done. It's only the front end kind of stuff. So do I have that right? How do we go from the crew app is close to coming out to only the blockchain work is done, only the front end work is done, but no blockchain end. So how does that actually make sense? Am I mischaracterizing that?
Maybe. I'm not sure if there's a conflation between the crew
The crew app.
release, a conflation between the crew app and the crew members that are being released, or the crew packs that are being released. I don't know if there was a misinterpretation there.
Sure.
I have been very excited about the crew app in the past.
So that's coming in
I think
Q4. No timelines, right? Is that what the information is?
probably not as
No.
of right now. I
Sure.
mean, we are looking at 2025 now, most likely,
I see.
yeah, and it's not even prioritized yet, because where we're spending a lot of our time and focus is on all of those Unreal Engine releases that are coming up, which consists of Fleet Command, the Surge with all of the new gameplay modes, Rose Garden, which is the only CSS, and then Project Gallia, which is the deep space exploration, and the potential for missions to arrive at some point in the future with Gallia. And then we're also focused on the next iterations of Sage gameplay logic, which would be developed concurrently with all of the Fleet Command features. This was a big thing that we talked about, is Fleet Command and Sage, or Starbased, need to maintain parity going into the future. This
Yeah.
was one of the problems with Sage 3D, is like, by the time we released Sage 3D, we already had new features rolling out in Sage
Yep.
that didn't exist in the 3D client. Now you
And you got to
immediately
catch
have
up.
that client. Yes.
Yeah.
And so, I mean, what we did discover through the release of Sage 3D was that it was going to take way more work to make Play Canvas function properly with our game logic than we really had time for. And so, again, I'm quite excited about the idea of having Sage, on-chain logic, economy, functionality, all in Unreal Engine. I think that's going to be really cool. RTS gameplay and UE. But in any case, back to your question about the crew app. It's just we don't currently have the resources to prioritize that. Now, I will say, if we do have a very successful crew
Mint.
crew pack and mint sale, you will see the company scale more aggressively than we have over the last let's just say last 7 months of this year. We have been scaling, but very slowly, very strategically. I intend to maintain that ideology, but if we have a very successful mint, it'll get slightly more aggressive than it has been.
So, Michael, that leaves me a bit confused, because on the Metaverse Nomads, I think you did say we don't want to bring out something new. We want to make sure we have that utility in place for it before it comes out. I think I remember you saying that. But now I think what the information I'm getting is that hopefully, if the mint is really good, then we go and make the crew app. So then the utility for the crew is just going to be in Sage. Is that right? It won't be in the crew app at all.
Well, that is correct. As I noted, there are really four different segments of utility for the crew
The
packs
crew,
that are
yeah.
being sold now. So one of those is the fact that it can be your in-game avatar in Unreal Engine. So that's not necessarily to date either. That is future utility. Um, the PFP concept, which define that or place kind of rank that wherever you will in terms of utility. There are entire NFT mints that are nothing more than a
Just for
PFP,
PFPs, yeah.
and people love that, right? But so that is a segment of utility for
Yeah.
us. And then the biggest today is in Sage
Is
crafting crew.
crafting, yeah. Yeah.
It's going to help you scale production. That's, and to be frank with you, I think that's where most of the demand, particularly in our existing community, is for crew right now. They want to be able to speed up their crafting times.
Yeah, that's right.
And then the fourth component would be that crew app. So we have
Yeah.
at least two elements of utility today and more future elements of utility going into the future.
Awesome. Thanks for clarifying on that. Because I do get a lot of these questions on my own YouTube channel, like, when are they doing this? When are they doing that? Like, it's coming. Hold on, it's coming. All right. So
Well,
let's, yeah.
but you are exactly right. It's something that we've really tried to think long and hard about for years now, is not releasing something until we know that we have immediate utility on the horizon, because otherwise we just create this massive liability for ourselves.
Yeah, yeah. And then you have to go and service that item later on where, it may not equate into the current equation of the entire formula of your company then at the moment. You have to make concessions, for example.
I can tell you this. It comes up often. We just had a big product strategy meeting today, earlier today, and one of the things that we were talking about as we're looking at some of the new mechanics is, okay, what of the items that have been released that don't have utility can we add or inject into this feature in a like reasonable way that actually makes sense. And so we're always thinking about, okay, how do we clean up all of that liability from stuff that we've sold in the past that, we know people want to have utility for.
Yeah.
Now we have been in positions like start sequence of 2022 where, we sold CSS land plots, and we knew that CSS land plots were a ways out from being built out. But that was
an outlier event, I think, because of the specific circumstances in that time. That's my understanding.
well. Yes, well said.
Yeah, yeah. Awesome. And I got to say thank you as well for having those meetings and saying, okay, the community have all of this stuff from us, right, that we've created for them and that they've kind of earned or done this to acquire. And we want to make sure they can actually use that. And I think, as you said on Metaverse Nomads, like the crew tags, I bought bloody 5 crew tags each of each single one of them. So I've got crew tags out the wazoo. Is sitting there. And I understand they will have some utility later on. Either you swap it out just like the posters into something else, or you do something with it. It's going to come. So I'm not in a rush. Again, on the Metaverse Nomads as well, and I got to say thank you for coming on to all of these community podcasts and shows so we can chat to you. But on the Metaverse Nomads, again, you did reference kind of the third-party development and third-party people coming into Star Atlas being an open kind of ecosystem. So you mentioned that one or a few other dev shops or dev parties have come in, maybe for rentals. I'm not sure. Can you clarify, one, how many third-party devs are you in contact with? What are they actually building, if it's public at all? I think the rental thing is one of them, and my secret idea is that the DAO is going live very quickly so that some third-party people can get ecosystem grants so that they can build the rental program. That's what I'm connecting. Am I close at all? What's happening with the third-party devs?
Not quite on that one. And I think there's probably a couple of different tracks. So there's third-party relationships that we have as a studio. I wouldn't necessarily consider those like third-party ecosystem partners. It's teams that are working directly with Automata. Now, in a lot of cases, that's the co-creation or co-dev game studios that we're working with. It's Paint, it's Sparasoft, it's Sentient Art, the Lost Pixels, etc. Right? Those are teams that we engage with to focus on specific areas of development.
And to clarify, I meant not so much those ones. I meant the other ones, like community-focused ones, for example.
Yes, so I think the biggest ones would really be yourselves. We consider Afia to be a third-party developer. The
Okay.
Flipside dashboard in particular leverages on-chain data and presents that to the community or to any interested party. So I think, in many ways, you guys are maybe more specifically Shadow Loyalty or Sly with their
Hmm.
labs
Hmm.
tools and the freelance system. Evi, I think, is another third-party developer. I mean, they've effectively recreated the Sage front end
Hmm.
using a lot of the hooks that we
Pretty
have and
good.
on-chain
Yeah.
programs that we have.
Hmm.
And then separately, yes, there is a third party that we are in direct cooperation with on the fleet rental system. And
Ah.
now that is, yes, that's probably the one that you're referring to. Um, and then separate from that, by the way, I would mention that we do have a third party developer relationship that we could use to further the development of the DAO beyond where it's at today. And if anything, some of the motivation for getting the DAO out early is so that we could submit a proposal, or rather direct that team on how to submit a proposal for a grant to do the development work on the DAO. I've actually teased this out in the governance channel a couple months ago, just to get a sense of community interest in something like that. So there's
And
a lot of
so
different
I.
third parties, but some of them are connected to us and a lot of them are not.
Yeah, right. So I want to clarify that team, their main focus is developing the DAO. So they'll likely go through the DAO to get a grant to develop the DAO even further. Is that right?
That is a potentiality, yes.
Yeah, right. Okay, no problem, no problem. Thanks a lot for clarifying that because you watch something, you think about it like, oh, is that what he actually said? But now I understand there's a DAO team out there that wants to help the DAO improve and further. Awesome.
Leon, I talk a lot, man. I talk a lot. So,
Yeah,
so
yeah.
sometimes
Sometimes it's hard to pin you to something. What did you say then? But also, it's not cool. We're just having a conversation, and can taken out of context. So I don't want to be that guy. I just want to say, what did you actually say? What did you mean? Do I have it right? So
yeah,
thanks for fixing it up for me.
of course.
Well, I guess that brings me to kind of my next question, which is about transparency, right? And you're being very transparent with us now. I really thank you for that. One thing I want to chat about is transparency in Star Atlas, which I think you guys have taken strides to. Like you've done so well, in my general opinion, being in crypto since 2017. I have a massive crypto portfolio. Like transparency is hard to come by, okay? And so that's with Star Atlas. Thank you. Now, transparency to do with Titans. That's my question. So you value transparency in Star Atlas. I keep saying transparency. The Titans go onto the market and they're sold OTC, right? Does that compute for you? I don't know what price this ship, even though it's a ship, why is it treated any special than any other ship on the market? But it gets sold to some party who you and them agree not to disclose the price. Now, for me, that doesn't make sense, Michael, right? Why does this ship get to not have a price sticker attached to it? It's 5 million VWAP. Oh, no, it's actually sold for 1 million. I found out through an article. But it actually could be on financing, like Super Phoenix, for example. I don't know. See, that's the thing. We're making up stuff now because I don't know. So why is that happening? Is that how you plan to sell the next 17 Titans as well?
Well, let's go all the way back to 2021 when we were accused of backroom dealing with some OTC
Animoca
transactions
brands, I
that
think I remember, yeah.
there were multiple teams. There were some 6 or 7 different teams who reached out to us who asked for an OTC trade because it was easier to process in a batch order than it would be to purchase all of them individually. Now, to be clear, there were no discounts at that time offered. There was no special treatment or special deal or disadvantage that was created for anyone who did not buy OTC from us. The logic was pretty simple. They reached out to us. They had a couple $1 million or whatever the case may have been that they wanted to spend with us, and they said, "This is what we want to buy. Can we just do this all in one transaction?" And my impression at the time, and still to this day, is yes, you want to spend
Yeah,
significant amount of money
yeah,
with
you're a
us,
customer. Come here.
and all we have to do is just send you all these ships in one transaction. Sure, that's really easy for us to do, right? And nevertheless, when that came to light, people assumed that there was some preferential treatment being given to the groups that reached out to us directly. Now, I completely disagree with that premise, but maybe carrying that forward to where we are in 2024, very much the same situation happened. Those ships, by the way, have been sitting on the market forever. They've been on the market for years. Nobody wanted to buy those ships. We had multiple teams reach out direct and say, hey, can we do a deal with you OTC? Again, I see these as being potential customers. We are still rebuilding our treasury, I might add. We have a long way to go and a very expensive budget for this game. And so, yes, if I see an opportunity for a significant amount of revenue, I think that's a positive thing. And I also saw a pretty big opportunity for that to be marketable. And in fact, in many ways, the sale of the first Titan, by the way, which was conducted OTC, led to the domino effect of multiple other
Next
sales.
ones, yeah.
It wasn't until they didn't all come at once. It was one team wanted to buy a Titan. When that deal closed, people started knocking on our door, right?
That's the
Now,
marketing
in the
effect.
case of the,
Yep.
it's the marketing effect and the exposure effect and the FOMO effect of people saying, oh no, these ships are going to be gone. I definitely want to get one, right? And so all of these deals just kind of got lined up pretty quickly. I very much think it's to everyone's benefit for us to take this revenue in. I think we can all agree that right now, current state, Automata needs to succeed, right? For the game to succeed. So yes, making sure, and also, it's not like any of this money is going directly into our pockets. Not that people really make that accusation. Every dollar that comes into the company gets spent on the company and building this game out, right? So I think it's very positive for us to take that revenue in, to bolster up that treasury and to make sure that our viability going forward is as strong as possible. Now, in the case of the Titans, these were all negotiated deals, one-on-one, with the teams that were buying it. And we don't necessarily know what the pricing is going to look like on the Titans going forward. Now, it's possible that we release a second tranche. There's 3 Titans that will be sold by Automata for each of the 7 different models that are going to be available. So there are 21 total Titans that will be sold eventually. So it's feasible for us to go in and say, okay, well, the first of the first 4 have now been sold, and so the second wave of this is going to be released at a new price, discounted from the 5 million. The third tranche will be 5 million. To be perfectly honest with you, I don't know right now. I don't know what we're going to do with that.
You got to start the negotiations before you know. Yeah.
Yeah. So, and then in terms of what the public price is, I think it was mutually agreed on by both parties. We're not going to reveal what the price is right now. And so I'm honoring our commitment to not revealing the price that it was transacted at. I don't know what significance or relevance it really has for everyone else in the community to know what the price of 4 different ships being sold was.
And Michael, look, I fully do actually appreciate this. I would say, yes, you're doing what you need to do to make sure Star Atlas keeps going, to make sure all of the assets in Star Atlas are still have some value, right? So I have no problem with it. But you have to understand the community see the whole kind of bipolar of the situation where, yes, we're fully trust and transparency, but no, you can't see the price of what we sold this for. Even though, yes, we're doing it for your benefit and we're negotiating with them and we both agree that, no, we won't release it, you can understand the community's kind of frustration with this. And the community just, it doesn't make sense to them. That's all. That's all it is. But I fully appreciate it's for Star Atlas, right? Everything I say on my channel is for Star Atlas.
I think it's a pretty isolated example, though. I don't know that it's fair to categorize it as being bipolar. If everything else, through the history of the company has been public and in the open, and then we have the case of 4 single ships that have been sold, and the only thing people don't know is what the price was. They know who the owners are. I mean, they've all made themselves known.
You can see it on chain anyway. You can see what wallet it is. You just have to connect the dots.
Yeah. So, I mean, I think that's a pretty isolated case, and for what it's worth, I'm going to take a hard stance on this one and say we're not sharing the price. It's what we've agreed to. So
right on. That's it, man.
It is what it is.
Yeah, that's it. I like it. It is what it is. Take it or leave it. That's it. Now we are nearing the end. Thank you, Michael, for that. Let's take maybe 2 more questions. For example, I want to talk about the Fleet Command. Right, Fleet Command isn't coming for a long time now, but we're also going to be talking about combat. Combat also is not going to be coming for a while now because we have a feature freeze. Everything has to go onto UE5. So you're thinking Fleet Command after. You're thinking, sorry, combat after Fleet Command. Is that right?
Yes,
Yes.
yes, and
Okay.
this was not to continue bringing up Metaverse Nomads, but I did have a
Yeah.
discussion on their show as well about
Yeah.
this. Fleet Command, without trying to paint us into a corner again on timelines, we have an ambitious goal of having a release around Breakpoint. We will be tech demoing at Breakpoint. The question is, will we have a releasable product at that same time, or is it just a pure tech demo that we show off at Breakpoint and then,
And develop from
kind
there.
of finalize all of the development there and release it later? But nevertheless, that should be um, absolutely before the end of the year.
No
I may get
timelines, no
myself into hot
deadlines.
water.
Yeah.
Exactly,
Yeah.
right? I mean, this is the thing. But people want to know, and just in the context of this, you had said Fleet Command's not coming for a long time. It's potentially within a couple of months. In our meeting today, Fleet Command is actually ahead of schedule, so
Oh,
that could change tomorrow. But things are looking good. They're looking
yeah.
promising on that side. So I'm
Nice.
very excited about that.
Nice, good to know. So then, Michael, I just want to sideline on that then. So if Fleet Command kind of close, no timelines, can you kind of prioritize the rest of these items for us? The community, AFIA community wanted to know about these things. So local fee markets, council ranks or PvE elements, not necessarily PvP, which is combat, in our view, what combat is, but PvE, me versus a Tufa ship, for example. And then maybe the CSS habs, for example. So maybe can you kind of prioritize those on what you would hope for them to be developed and what is actually being developed now? How close are you to either of them? So local markets, council rank, PvE, and CSS habs.
Yeah. So in Q3, the team is currently working on the next iteration of the marketplace. So this is where we have different departments, different specialties. Blockchain is working on the updates to the marketplace program that would go into development in Q4. Where as I continue to share dates here and get myself in trouble, but Q4 is when we're hopeful for some type of release for the latest version of the marketplace. That comes with a ton of updates, by the way. The big thing is CNFT support or NFT support, which we don't have today. That's necessary for people to trade their crew members, their crew
Yeah.
cards, after the packs are opened.
Yeah.
Right. So the way it works as we roll out is we've built a crew pack opening application, web app that lives in Portal or where the marketplace is.
Nice.
And so you can buy the pack from us and you can open the pack on the marketplace. But if you want to trade the individual CNFT assets, you'll have to go to a third party marketplace to do that. We obviously want to resolve that. So that's one of the things that we're bringing. But also things like history and price charts. So trading volume and trading price history. Also being able to utilize a single pool of capital to bid on multiple items. This is one of the most demanded.
I remember you
So,
saying that, yeah.
hey, I have $1,000 in my wallet. I have 5 different things I want to put a bid on, and whichever one hits first uses those funds,
executes,
right? And it
yeah.
closes all of the other orders. So we're adding logic for that.
I'm
But
not,
this is also
much of a market expert, but that's like spoof. Is that spoofing liquidity? Is that I don't know. It's like you're bidding on multiple things so it's like you're saying I have all this liquidity, but it's not actually there. It's only for one thing. Is that
Well,
good or
I
bad?
wouldn't go that far. I mean, spoofing is intentional market manipulation where you don't actually have any intention of making the purchase. You just want to give the impression or appearance of market liquidity being there.
Yeah, but I can
Now,
do that now, right? With that feature you're saying, I can just pay. Oh, I want to buy 1,000 air bikes, and then this is all the money, and then I just remove it later on. It
okay,
does
could
no
it be
cost to me.
abused? It could be abused, but
Okay.
it is intended to be a beneficial feature where you have multiple things that you want to buy,
Yeah.
and you're not just buying them at the market price. You're placing a bid that's below market price, and you're hoping somebody sells it to you. And maybe you have 5 or 10 different things that you would be open to buying. Whichever one gets sold to you first, that's the one you'll take. And so you're willing to open up market orders and express your interest. You're communicating your interest in buying an item at a particular price, and you can do that now across multiple items with a single pool of collateral, because whichever one hits that first, again, all of the other orders will cancel. So it's
Cancel.
not
Yeah.
intended to be a market manipulation tool for people. Can people do that? Yes. I mean,
Yeah.
people can even do that now on the
Yeah.
marketplace.
Well, let's
Just
be honest,
it's the
Michael.
same thing.
Like it's Web3. When people see an incentive, they will use that tool and they will try and make money from it. That's what it is. It's crypto.
Sure.
But yeah, I want to come back to the initial question, which was ranking these.
Yes.
So you had a good chat about the actual local markets and the new improvements coming. So I'm going to take that then as that is what is closest, or that is what is foremost. Is that correct?
Well, the final point of the marketplace update is that it is going to create the ability for local markets to exist. So yes, local markets is in the priority set alongside our V3 marketplace development.
Awesome.
Remind me of the other.
Yeah,
there
sure,
were three
sure.
more that you asked
So
about.
yeah, council rank, PVE elements, and then CSS Habs. I'm going to take CSS Habs as the last one. So I wanted to know PVE elements versus council rank, or at least the benefits that come with progression. You know, so what would you?
I'm
What
actually
would you
going to throw you
prioritize
for a
there?
little bit of a loop because
Yeah,
our Rose Garden release, the Oni CSS is going to open the auction process to bid on
for CSS
specific
Habs.
parcels. Yes, yes. So now, I guess if you're asking about full utility of CSS Habs, you're not even you won't have the option to place your Hab with all of the benefits like crafting performance benefits by having your Hab and your crafting bench set up. That won't be out with the Rose Garden release, but you will be able to walk around the space station, identify a parcel of land, open a bid on that. And I would remind everyone that if you are part of Start Sequence, so that 2 or 3 month window between late 2022 and early 2023, and you purchased land in that window, you will have the first right to purchase or to bid
To bid,
on
yeah, I was
plots
going
of
to say
land.
first right to bid, not purchase. Yeah, yeah.
Yes. However, I would say the bidding environment is not going to be terribly competitive because it was only 10% of the total land, and not all of that sold out. And and there also have been sales since we closed Start Sequence benefits. But in any case, it's probably more elaborative than you needed. But bidding process, auction process, opening up with the release of Rose Garden, so you can at least identify where you want to live, where you want to place your home
What your view is.
in that's right. Do you want to be next to the beach or do you want to be in a high rise?
Yeah,
Well,
makes a
maybe not
difference.
high rise, but uh, but
As soon as you said that,
then
Michael, just a side note, as soon as you said that, I was like, yeah, I don't want to be in a high rise because you see how many idiots are flying these ships back and forth. Well, all it takes is one of them to hit my place and I'm done.
well, you know respawn mechanics, right? Is, just get a new sleeve, but
Respawn with an
it's
Atlas sync, Michael. They got to charge. We got to pay your Atlas for a respawn, okay?
come on, man. You know us already. Of
Yeah,
course we're charging it.
yeah, yeah. It's a circular economy. It's got to be sustainable.
Well, somebody has to fund that DAO,
Yeah,
so
yeah. That's it.
but from there, I would say a form of PvE mechanics. I'm not going to go
No
into depth
specifics.
on what that means, but effectively a form of PvE mechanics. And then combat would be. Oh, sorry. Council rank is not currently prioritized. That's going to be a
Sure,
2025 thing.
sure.
Um,
So let
a
me
little
put
bit
that.
conflicted.
Sorry, say again. Keep going.
A little bit conflicted for me on the council rank. I think because it comes with pros and cons. Like I think the council rank system is uh, critical for long-term performance of the game, but at the same time, this grandfathering in this early access window where you can just use all of your ships right now is to the benefit of our existing player base. It's
Yeah,
kind of a thank you for supporting us
yeah.
early. You can pre-level your account, and you're going to have a head start when council rank comes out. But the other thing that I have to consider with council rank is what is the impact to the whales, well, to a lot of the player base, by the way, because that council rank is pretty restrictive. But what is the impact to our players if they don't have some other option to utilize their assets? Because now we've blocked them out of, 50% or 75% of their portfolio, and so that's where things like fleet rentals
Come in.
comes into play, pretty significantly, I might add. Fleet rentals is going to unlock our ability to start to impose more constraints on the ecosystem and gameplay and leveling and progression and the importance of those items.
Right on. So that third-party development team out there doing the fleet rentals, the community's looking to you, my friends. Make a good fleet rental system for us. But I think, Michael, we've been going for nearly an hour now. I think we should end it there. Have you got any last minute words for the community, for example? Maybe for people in AFIA, anything you want to say to the community? I just want to say thank you, for coming on. It is generally difficult to come on, answer questions ad hoc, and, you don't know where it's going to go. So thank you again, my friend. And I really look forward to interviewing you again when something prominent does happen in Star Atlas where we can talk and have a productive discussion. So yeah, thank you, man.
No, my pleasure. And again, I'm surprised it's taken us this long to get together, but it's been an absolute pleasure. Appreciate the questions, appreciate the opportunity. Congratulations again to AFIA, 3 years, and many more to come. Plus, I know you guys are going to be showing up big time in Singapore for both Breakpoint and the Star Atlas Impact Summit. So really appreciate you guys showing your support there. Otherwise, community, I can tell you guys, I am insanely excited about the releases that we have coming up, the kind of the restructuring of the development roadmap that we've just gone through, our potential to grow and attract mainstream and get gamers in, start to grow this user base and start to grow this community again. I think we need some new voices, some new opinions, some new excitement and enthusiasm. So to me, it's really exciting, but the future is super bright this year, next year. It's probably great markets and great timing for everything that we have coming. So stick with us. A lot more cool things to come.
Sounds good. Well said, man. So everyone, that's been Michael Wagner from the CEO of Automata, leading Star Atlas development. Michael, thank you very much, man. Have a beautiful rest of your night.
You as well, man. Take care.
See ya.